How's everybody doing? I wanted to jump on here because I kind of have a bone to pick with not an entire industry. Well, kind of the entire industry, to be honest, but definitely a specific company because they are notorious for just doing unscrupulous things and binding people to things and putting people in situations that are very unfavorable. And they just spew things that don't really make sense. And I think a lot of times they're misleading people and have very unethical practices. You don't know what questions to ask. And I think one of the things that I learned from someone that's no longer a part of this company is that people assume that when you say smart things that you're smart. And a lot of times they say smart things that they don't really understand. And as a result, they earn your trust only to turn around and not fulfill on what they presented to you to begin with. Their annuity never got put in place. And they took these funds from their 401k based on the advice from the agent, and you have a 60-day period when you remove the funds from a tax deferred account to put it into another qualified account before you have tax implications. And because they just sold it using word tracks and parroting, which is a dangerous thing in the insurance industry, they didn't follow through. They got the sale, and one of the products went through seamlessly, but the other side of the transaction never realized because there were requirements that were never fulfilled to put this annuity in place. So as a result, client reached out to me because I helped him with infinite banking. Client reached out to me and said, "Hey, I have this situation. What can I do?" Come to find out that they would need to fulfill all the requirements before the company would look at making good on the annuity. And obviously that's not promising because they didn't fulfill the requirements to begin with. So it's kind of a catch 22. And I don't work with that company specifically, so I can't help him. But I would never put a client in a situation to do that. And that same company has people putting out information like this. This post is 9 facts everyone should know, every retiree should know. And it really should be 5 because the first ones are legit and it's not facts that people should know. It's really about understanding the language and the vocabulary that comes along with the information because it's in conjunction with required minimum distributions. And when you're a retiree, RMDs are essentially the government's way of saying you have to start spending your money because we need you to spend that money so that we can tax that money. Because as you spend that money or remove it from that 401k or that deferred retirement account, it counts as income for that year. And then you pay income taxes on those funds, which is the only reason an RMD exists, which is why I'm not a fan of deferred accounts to begin with, because your deferred compensation plan is really just the IRS's waiting room. So they're literally salivating as that account grows year over year because that just means that their cut gets larger and larger. If you break down theirs, it literally says the IRS. That's how you spell theirs, the IRS. So I don't think it's a coincidence because words are powerful. But the first one is RMD stands for required minimum distribution, which is valid. And it's a fun fact, but it's really about understanding the language. And once you understand the language, you start to dig in a little deeper. And the second one is most retirees must begin at age 73, which I'm pretty sure that applies to all retirees. You have to start taking RMDs at 73 if it's a deferred account. The other is if you were born in 1960 or later, your RMD starts at age 75 because they have started to push those things back because people are working longer. So why wouldn't they push it back so you can grow that account more? Because again, it is literally the IRS's waiting room. So they're going to push it back because it's more favorable to them because you have a larger portion of income or you have a larger retirement account. So your distributions are larger, which means that the taxes that they can levy are higher. Uh, Number 4 is RMDs applied to traditional. It applies to deferred compensation plans or deferred retirement accounts, point blank. And then the next one is Roth IRAs do not have lifetime R&Ds for the original owner because it's not a deferred plan. If you're just honest about the information that you disseminate, you don't have to come up with frivolous facts to fill a post to make people think that you know what you're talking about. And again, because you said something that sounds smart that maybe the general public doesn't know, they assume that you're smart and you're intelligent when you're just really filling dead space because you don't have anything else to talk about. The next one is your first year's RMD is based on the account balance as of December 31st. It's based on the balance of the account. You cover that in the first five. So everything from here on is frivolous. So you don't need to tell me what my first RMD is based on. It's based on the balance of the account. And the next one is even more frivolous or dumbfounding. It says, so a 500,000 IRA at age 73 produces an RMD of about $18,900. What would have been more useful is just sharing the calculator that shows based on your age, the percentage that your RMD is. That would have been much more helpful because anybody, any halfwit can say, okay, my balance is this, I'm this age, this is the percentage, so this is how much about my RMD is going to be. Number 8, it says RMD withdrawals are generally taxed as ordinary income. Again, it's a required minimum distribution, and it's required so that they can tax the funds because you've been deferring taxes since you started contributing to this account. So it goes without saying that they're taxed as income, and that's the whole purpose of an RMD. And then number 9 is even more frivolous and unnecessary. It says missing an RMD can trigger a penalty of up to 25% of the amount of not withdrawn. So obviously, if they require you to take a distribution, then if you don't take that distribution, there's going to be a penalty, or it wouldn't be a requirement to begin with. That's why it's called a required minimum distribution, because if you don't take it, there's going to be repercussions. So this is the same company that for a long time said you can't sell IULs because you'll go out of business. And then they started selling simplified issue IULs because they realized how profitable it was and how little you actually had to know to sell the product, because they do sell it as a product and they refer to them as deals and all kinds of things that I would never say in regards to helping a client with a solution that puts them in a better financial situation, which that doesn't. It should never be a primary product. So you should always, I would say, talk to as many people as you need to until you talk to somebody that completely contradicts everything that everybody else said. And when you find that person, then start fact checking why this person says this and this person says this, because then somewhere in the middle, you'll find the truth. My mom always told me there's 3 sides to every story. There's his, hers, and then there's the truth, like what really happened. And this is no different. So talk to somebody about IULs, especially when they talk about it as infinite banking, because it's just not. And then talk to somebody about infinite banking and then find the truth that lies somewhere in between, because now this company makes a boatload of money off of selling IULs to people, setting money aside, because they're positioning as infinite banking in this great retirement planning tool when it's just as risky as the market because of the levers inside of the IUL that they don't understand, don't explain, you never ask about because you're none the wiser. And I don't necessarily think that the IUL is a bad tool to use in planning, but after you have a proper infinite banking strategy implemented, because you don't need to set aside funds that you need to live on to maintain your current lifestyle in an effort to position yourself for retirement. It doesn't have to be a significant sacrifice, because you truly should be creating leverage in the policy, because there you can't touch the money. So that money has to go away for the next, and they'll tell you if they're being honest, for the next 5, 7, 10 years. And if it truly was infinite banking, you would be able to access those funds within 30 days. It should be a savings alternative, a means of truly positioning yourself for tax-free retirement, because it truly does compound, but you don't have to give up access to the funds. And this particular company, and we'll probably get into it in future lives, that's just one of the many things that they're doing to separate you from your livelihood, from your resources that you truly need to be stewarding more responsibly. And the responsible thing to do would be to avoid them at all costs, because they're parroting, and somewhere along the line, somebody knows that it's not the best way to go, but because they're rich, or they're getting rich off the backs of unsuspecting people, and before you realize it, it's too late, and now you have to pay these surrender charges. They don't really care. And sometimes the people on the front lines don't know, but somewhere behind them, somebody knows that they shouldn't be, first of all, promising people this 6-figure income to come sell IULs and help people like truckers who need their money, and there's a better way. to do it for them specifically, because a lot of it should be leveraging credit cards out in front of everything so that they can live off of the points and move the money from the policy to pay off the credit card, so that they're at the very least exchanging 6% interest in their policy or whatever the interest rate is for 18 to 28% interest, sometimes higher on the credit card, while their money is still earning a dividend for them. So there's just a number of things. And if any of this makes sense, or you want to get into a conversation, and I hope it was simple enough for you to feel confident asking a question, and for you to feel confident questioning these people and these tools that they're standing up as simple when they're complex. And there's really an art form to making the complex sound simple, but the way that they're doing it is just leaving out important information that you need that can still be simplified. But if any of this makes sense, you want to have a deeper conversation, just DM me or comment bank, or just reach out to me, Wayne Runs, on Instagram. You can even just shoot me an email, wayne@hiddengemsfinancial.com, or just shoot me a text at 813-563-2322. And we'll dig into your situation. No obligation. I don't need you to buy anything. The education is free. If you decide to do something based on the education and information, kudos to you, but good for you. But if you don't, no harm, no foul. I just want you to be aware and not be taken advantage of, because that's the worst thing that could happen, is you be taken advantage of, because the ripple is good, bad, or indifferent. If I help you, the ripple is immense, and you'll talk to a number of other people about how I helped you, and your life will be infinitely better. If I do you wrong, the ripple ripples through your family the same way, and now other people suffer as a byproduct of my negligence, of my willful negligence at that. And that's just not how I'm wired. So I hope this helps. Thanks for joining. I look forward to the next time I can help you bridge the gap between something you might be on the fence about and something that can truly be positioned as a resource to help put you in a better position financially for generations to come. So be well, happy 4th, and we'll talk soon.